I don't think I have ever read about a scarier human being. I don't even think you can refer to this person as a human being. He's the most terrifying creature to ever walk the earth. Jamie Osuna, the man with 1,000 faces. Jamie was born and raised in Bakersfield, California. He had one of the absolute worst childhoods. Jamie's mom was only 19 years old when she had him. Her name is Michelle. I don't really like that one bit. Dad's name is unknown, but he was 21 at the time when Jamie was born. Michelle and the I hate saying my name. Michelle and the dad's relationship was so toxic. The dad was so terrible to Michelle. She was constantly abused both mentally and physically. They do eventually end up getting a divorce. Michelle meets another man named Jeff. She ends up marrying him, moves in with him, bringing along Jamie and his half-brother. From the beginning, Jeff is cold to the kids. He has no interest in being a father figure to anyone. He ends up being horrible and abusive, and when I say horrible, do not take that lightly. When Jamie was a baby, Jeff pushes Jamie out of a moving vehicle in his car seat because he lost his temper. Later on, as Jamie starts to grow up, we discover that he actually did suffer brain damage from getting pushed out of a car. Even though it wasn't visible and you couldn't see it, he did have brain damage. The older brother moves out. Jamie stays living with Michelle and Jeff, and eventually Michelle and Jeff have their own children. Get this, Jeff was a good father to his own children, but he hated Jamie. He was normal to his children, but he would starve Jamie. He would lock him out of the house. He would hit him. Jeff would be absolutely cruel to Jamie just because he didn't like him, and Michelle never stood up for Jamie. At one point, Jeff actually does get charged for some of the things that he does to Jamie, but he's only held by authorities for a few days and then he goes right back home. When Jamie is 12, he has only ever dealt with hate and betrayal his entire life. Ever since before he was born, that is all he has ever been surrounded with. He doesn't know any different, but he ends up moving in with his grandparents. When Jamie's 15 years old, he goes to juvie for stabbing a guy. During his time in juvie, Jeff dies from a heart attack and Jamie is released from juvie at 19 years old. In December 2008, Jamie goes to a house party, and that is where he meets his future wife. I couldn't find her name. I don't think she wants her name out there, so we're just gonna call her Sarah. Sarah is a 37-year-old single mom. She's throwing a house party for her 16-year-old son. Jamie attended. That's where they met. At the party, Jamie, it's not funny. He's just like, why does he do this? At the party, Jamie stabs a man and the police is called. He gets sent back to jail, even though he just got out of jail. He can't stay out. While he's in jail, all he's thinking about is Sarah and how much he liked her. They start writing letters to each other for almost a full year. When Jamie is released in November 2009, Sarah goes to pick him up from jail and she's shocked to see how many tattoos, facial tattoos, he got. She picks him up, they go to a motel, do the deed, and Sarah ends up getting pregnant. Apparently, when they found out that they were gonna have a baby, Jamie was excited to be a father. He was ready to step up and take care of the baby. In February of 2010, they agreed to be this little family and they end up getting married. After the wedding, Sarah is still pregnant and Jamie becomes very aggressive, very abusive. Because of that, he's sent back to jail for another 6 months. While he's in jail, the kid is born. He gets out, Sarah decides to give him another chance, but Jamie quickly makes her regret that. He was terrible to her in every and any way, and that abuse eventually went not only to Sarah, but also to her kids, as well as their new baby that they had. When he starts abusing the children, that is Sarah's bottom line, and Jamie has crossed it. She isn't having it anymore. She ends up calling the police on him. Jamie ends up back in prison for another 7 months. He's released on Halloween in 2011, and Jamie does not learn. He's a violent person. He's calling Sarah, threatening to kill her and the children. And Sarah is reporting all the phone calls and all the threats to the police. One day, November 8th, 2011, Jamie calls Sarah. Sarah's assuming that he's just calling to threaten her again. But when she picks up the phone, Jamie says, "Put on the news. I just killed a woman at the Morocco motel." Sarah immediately calls the police, and guess what they did? Absolutely not. It wasn't until 5 days later when a worker at the motel discovers the dead body of 37-year-old Yvette Peña. Yvette was a loving mother of 6. She was adored by so many people, leaving so many people absolutely heartbroken. Autopsy revealed that she had blunt force injuries, sharp force injuries, and she was strangled. Investigators have said it was the worst crime scene some of them have ever seen. The details of it all have not yet been released because it was so horrendous. Cops are called. They soon figure out that Jamie Osuna was responsible for this murder. So the cops are now looking for him, but they're having a really hard time finding him. It took 5 days to find him. They eventually do arrest him. Jamie denies that it was him, but he is charged, so he's awaiting trial, and during that time, he gets more facial tattoos. While he is awaiting trial, he's still doing everything that he can to harass Sarah. He wanted to ruin her life. He would send her letters written in blood. She once got a letter with a smashed up dead rat inside. Jamie would also send letters to people on the outside to try and get Sarah killed. He's awaiting trial for the the murder for 5 years. And during that time, there's a lot of hearings and a lot of time spent in court still. Yvette's family was at those hearings, and Jamie was so creepy. He would sit there smiling and waving at them like, ugh, just haunting them and taunting them. It was horrible. They finally set a trial date. 3 days before the trial, Jamie agrees to do an interview with a journalist, and this interview is horrifying. Up until then, he had not confessed to killing Yvette, right? But during this interview, before he's even asked, he says, I did it. The clip of this interview, it's so creepy. Oh my god, it gives me shivers. The clip of him during this interview, it's so creepy. He says, I'm sadistic. I really don't care. I did it and I'll do it again over and over and over. Another quote, I did sadistically, premeditately, and deliberately torture and murder Yvette Peña. During that interview as well, he talks about his childhood, his trauma. He says that from when he was a kid around 8-9 years old, he started killing animals. He says he doesn't care about killing, he just likes to chase the rush to feel something, and says that he gets self-gratification from it. He confesses not only to killing Yvette, but he says she was not the first person that he's killed. He's actually done it twice before. He says his first kill was in 2007 when he was 13. He killed a 32-year-old female. They ask him the reason why he did that, and he says, I kind of don't want to get into that because I was young at that age, but that was the first taste. I just can't get over the way that he presents himself at the trial for Yvette. He's still doing little waves to the family, doing all these creepy smiles. Yvette's sister gets up and does a speech and says, I do hope he will have some sort of regret. The camera turns to Jamie while the sister is talking, and he's mouthing, no, 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 and smiling. He takes a plea deal to avoid the death penalty, and he's sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Did you think that was the end of the story? Wrong. In jail, it's decided that he is way too dangerous to have a cellmate. He's threatening everyone in prison. He's stabbing inmates, including stabs to the face. He always had blood, and he would write messages on the cell walls with blood. It wasn't until March 2019 when Jamie was giving a cellmate for the first time. His cellmate was 44-year-old Luis Romero. By March 9th, 2018, they had not even been cellmates for 24 hours. Luis was found dead in his cell, and the details of this crime scene, this is a warning. In the cell, Jamie is covered in blood. He somehow got a hold of a razor. He made a makeshift knife. He used that to attack Luis. He cut off his fingers. He cut out his eyes. He removed part of his ribs, cut out one of his lungs, decapitated Luis, and then carved the Joker's smile onto his face. Like, yeah. When they were found, there was blood all over, obviously. Jamie was sitting there with body parts all around him, and he was wearing a necklace made out of Luis's body parts. On the cell wall, it was written in blood, ha ha ha, and then, I am the man with 1,000 faces. Jamie also asked to be given photos of the crime scene, and thankfully the judge denied. That is the story of Jamie Osuna. I told you he was literally the scariest person to ever live. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. It's so horrifying, but I love you all so much. Massive kiss on the forehead to every single one of you.